Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahawashi. All praises to Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. Um, the name of this lesson is called the names Yahawah and Yahawashi. And pretty much, um, I just meditating on a couple of scriptures and thinking about how these guys from the IUIC, the devils that they are, they're making a big stink about not, not using the name, or not calling on the Heavenly Father's name in the Hebrew language, you know, throwing a big fit about that because they hate those names. Deep down inside, they hate those names, and they don't want those names to come to the forefront because there's a great power in those names, the names of Yahawah and the names of Yahawashi. Matter of fact, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 10. It says, the name of the Lord Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. These guys are going to find out the hard way that in these names, there's great strength. There's great safety. There's a magnitude of benefits to calling upon those names and reverencing those names, you know? And these guys are pretty much playing around with the names of Yahawah and the names of Yahawashi because their leaders that have been paid off, like Nate on down, have taught them, to go down this route. Now the scriptures say that for him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. So Nate knows what he's doing, you know, and I know that some of them guys that are with him, underneath him, I know they got to be thinking about this situation with the name Yahawah and Yahawashi, how they don't call on those names anymore, and how they had a meeting where they agreed, not to teaching those names anymore. You know, I don't know if he still calls himself Deacon, but Deacon Shakya, if he still calls himself that, or Shakya as we know him, you know, he gave a testimonial on when he left from among Nate and them, he gave a testimonial on that, you know, and pretty much, their whole thing is not to call on those names. You have to call on Jesus and Christ and Most High and Christ bless and all that. And those are not the names of the Lord, man. Those names did not exist till way later, you know. So, and those are titles, So you have to call on the names of Yahawah and Yahawashi in order to be saved and delivered in these times, man. And these guys are playing a very dangerous game. This is the book of Proverbs 30 and 4. Who hath ascended up into heaven or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fists? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name and what is his son's name, if thou canst tell? Because the great things that are happening on the earth and the things that are about to happen, somebody's going to get the credit for that. And everything, just speaking on a carnal level, and everything that man does, there's always a recognition given to this person, and the first thing that they bring out is what? Their name. Even these so-called scholars, even though we know they're not really scholars, they're fakes and phonies. But the first thing they do is they give their name, they give their accolades. He went to this particular college and he has this particular degree and he did this and he did that. But the first thing they bring out is what? Their name. So the names of Yahawah and the names of Yahawashi are greatly to be reverenced and greatly to be exalted, because when the time comes for all these miracles to finally come to a head, people are going to want to know who did this. What's the name of the God of the power that did this? because the Most High is being magnified. And by these guys not teaching the name, they're holding back the of reverence and the reverence and the acknowledgement to the name of Yahweh and Yahawashi, that they're the ones that are doing this. You know, that they're the ones that are bringing all these glorious things to pass. You know, and when the Most High delivered us out of the land of Egypt, His name was highly exalted back then as the power that did those things. That's why the nations were nervous around us, because of the things that the Most High did, and they knew it was Yahawah. That's why it says that the Lord's name is dreadful among the heathen. You know, so these guys are playing a very, very dangerous game, man. And these names have to be uttered in the Hebrew tongue. You know, you could call it Lashwan Kodash, you could call it the Paleo Hebrew, you could call it, the ancient Hebrew, you know, but they have to be uttered in those names. This is the book of Acts 26 and 12. This is Paul on his mission to Damascus, where he had got letters from the so-called Sanhedrin to bind and put to death whoever was teaching in the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi, because he thought he was doing the right thing, but he did it in ignorance. It says, whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priest, at midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Yahawashi, whom thou persecutest. So Yahawashi, at this point, he had already resurrected and went and sat on the right hand side of the Most High. So he's up in the heavens. So he came specifically to Paul in his heavenly glory. And when Paul, when Saul, when he spoke to Saul in the Hebrew language. Why? Because the Hebrew language is the language of the heavens. That's the first primary language. That's the language of the heavens, and that was the first primary language that we spoke on the earth when the Lord created man. That's that language, which was a one language and one speech back then. So that's the language of the heavens. That's why when the Most High created man in his image, he also gave man what? Language. That's why he gave them thoughts in their mind, and he gave them a tongue and an ability to speak, to be able to interpret those thoughts that were in their mind. And what was the language that he gave them to do it in? The Hebrew language. So this is the language of the heavens, man. And this is Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. This is the Lord's Prayer. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Because the things that are going to be here on the earth are going to mimic the things that are up in the heavens. That's why the Lord told Moses, look, when you make this tabernacle and whatever you're making, make sure that you make it according to the vision that you saw in the heavens. So the Lord wants things on earth as they are in the heavens. That's why he said, be ye perfect, for I, the Lord, am perfect. So the language of the heavens, as we read that Yahawashi spoke to Saul in, was the Hebrew language. So those names have to be uttered in that language. Because when he said, who am I? I mean, who art thou? He didn't say, I'm Jesus, I'm the Christ. He said, I'm Yahawashi. He spoke to him in the Hebrew. So this is and the Hebrew language is part of the doctrine. I don't know why these guys are. Well, I know why, because they sold out, but they're so hell bent on taking away the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi, and there's power in those names. That's the reason why they infiltrated the schools. That's the reason why the first thing they took out of the school at One West was when after the splits came, was what? The name of Yahawashi, because he is the mediator. Without Yahawashi, we can't get to the Most High. We can't get to Yahweh. So the first thing they did was they got rid of that name and they left the name Yahweh, because you can't get to the Most High without the mediator. And then eventually they took the Most High's name out. And the same thing with Nate, And then you had people in Nate's congregation that were speaking that were uttering the name Yahweh and Yahawashi, and he pretty much shut that down. Nate is the devil, man. Nate is a snake, and you got his flunkies that come on the comment board and talk shit about us, and put comments and talk shit, Lemur and all them guys talking shit, under names where they don't even show their face who they are, bunch of cowards, you know, and they're doing it because they're trying to keep that name under wraps. They don't want that name to come out, and those were the same guys that beat the apostles and told them not to teach in those names anymore, because they love the prestige of their of their of their title, and of their position, more than they love Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi. So it says, like, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the language of the heaven is a Hebrew. We're being turned back to that language. So why would we not utter the names of the Most High and His Son in the Hebrew language? You know, we are Israelites. We are Hebrews. Our language is Hebrew. That's not a made up doctrine. That is part of the doctrine. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 18. In that day, this is a prophecy, a future prophecy. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt, which is speaking about here in America, spiritually known as Egypt, according to Revelation, the 11th chapter, the 8th verse. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. Now, what was the language of Canaan? That was a Hebrew language. That's why when you type in, in Google, you type in the Canaanite language, what's going to come up? The Hebrew alphabet, the Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash, that ancient language, because that's the language that we spoke in the land of Canaan. So the Lord said that in that day, meaning when the Lord establishes Israel back up, because we fell from our heritage at once, it says, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. And we're going back to the language, the Hebrew language. And swear to the Lord Yahawah of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction, Abad Babal, or Abad Ayar, I believe the Hebrew word for city is, So the Lord said that was a prophecy that was going to happen, that we were going to speak this language, So who the hell is Nate and these other devils to take away the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi? That's it. That's what they are. They're devils. Moving on. This is the book of Isaiah 44:1. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahweh that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty. And that's when the truth started being brought back out, because pretty much what was going on was that the truth had been hidden for a period of time. As it when you read different scriptures, it tells you that the truth was hidden for a certain period of time. But then the Lord caused that water to be brought back out, and there was the thirsty Israelites out there, the dry bones started receiving that moisture of the word. It started being built up, and started learning about their heritage, started learning about their language, started learning about their customs, started learning about everything that we once knew that we lost. It says, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed and my blessing upon thine offspring, and they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourse. One shall say, I am Yahawah's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. And we know that the Hebrew word for Jacob is what? Ya'iquab. And you have brothers that actually call themselves Ya'iquab. And then that's also dealing with they were going to go back to that language, call themselves by Hebrew Israelite names. It says, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh and surname himself by the name of Israel, or by the name of Yasha Allah. Some brothers have the name Yasha Allah, you know. So pretty much these are prophecies of things that show us that we're gonna get back our language, because we lost our heritage, and part of our heritage was our language, and part of getting our heritage back is getting the names of Yahweh and Yahawashi. This is Jeremiah 6:16. It says, thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein. And part of the walking therein is the language. It says, and ye shall find rest for your souls, but they said we will not walk therein. And you have people that are not walking therein, like Nate, and others. All right. This is the book of Baruch, the second chapter. This is Baruch, the second chapter, and the 29th verse. And it says, if you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations. And that's what happened. We have been scattered, where I will scatter them. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, plural, they shall remember themselves. Why? Because now we're coming back to our nationality. We're coming back to our customs. We're coming back to our laws. We're coming back to our power. We're coming back to his anointed. It says, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear. See? So that's that flood of water. That's that flood of the truth coming in. And part of that flood of the truth coming in is the language. The language is important. Why do you think, why didn't it say that Yahawashi spoke to Paul in the Greek? Paul spoke Greek, and I'm pretty sure he spoke Latin, even though the scriptures don't mention it, but those are the prevalent languages of learned men, and Paul was a learned man. So why didn't Yahawashi speak to him in a different language? Why did he specifically speak to him in the Hebrew? Because that is the language of the heavens. That is the language that the Lord created man in. That is the language that we spoke at the beginning. That was the only language that was spoken by man at the beginning, until the Lord caused a division in the languages. And that's why he called that place Babel, because there was nothing but confusion going on, because nobody understood each other. But prior to that, the language was the Hebrew. It says, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name. The Most High's name is not Jehovah. The Most High's name is not God or Most High. The Most High's name is Yahawah, and his son's name is Yahawashi in the Hebrew. Those are the names that we're going to be thinking upon and thinking about, And what's happening is, like I said, you got a lot of sellouts out there that have sold out for the pleasures of this life. They should have read Hebrews 11 chapter, where it says that Moses gave up those riches, the pleasure of sin for a moment, that he may suffer with his brethren. They don't want to suffer with their brothers. They rather enjoy the wages of sin for a season, and that's all it's going to last for, is a season. It says, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers. The way of our fathers is what? Israelites. You go back to the time of Joseph, we were being called what? Hebrews, because the nation was still small. We all came from Jacob, and Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. We were Israelites, but we were being called Hebrews back then. Why? Because of our language. And then eventually, what happened? Then then that name Israelite came upon us too, from our forefather Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So it says, remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the Lord. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. And that's talking about in these times now, when the Lord comes back. Because many times we were driven out and brought back, and the Lord kept bringing us back and kept kicking us out. This is the book of 1 Kings 8:33. When thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee and confess thy name, and pray and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven and forgive the sin of thy people, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. And that's in what language is that? In the Hebrew language, because that's the language of the heavens. That's the language that the Lord is going to listen to you. Now, if you don't know the Hebrew, the Lord, he said that at the times of our ignorance, he winked at. None of us knew the name of the Lord at one time. That there were teachers that were set up to teach us those things. Nate the same way. Nate didn't know the Hebrew, but then he was taught by his teachers. and then he found out the name, and then he denied the name. All right. Um, and that's pretty much, that was the last scripture there. But the Hebrew is very important. It's very important to call on the names Yahawah and Yahawashi in the Hebrew language, because that is the language of the heavens, and that is the prayer that Yahawashi gave to the disciples and said, look, when you pray, you got you here we go. It says, after this manner therefore pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the language of the heavens is Hebrew, and the language that we supposed to be speaking is the Hebrew. All right. So the names Yahawah and Yahawashi have to be uttered in the Hebrew. So don't let these devils fool you. All right. So with that, I hope you brothers have learned something and have been edified. To the next time, I say shalom.